Walmart's only down 1, which is good. Nebius up 2%. Even Amazon having a good day. I mean, I know it's only 20 minutes into it, but we are seeing a continuation of yesterday's green candle. Let's look at the heat map here and see what we've got. I would say we're going to probably see green across the board. Yeah, pretty much seeing green across the board. I mean, you're seeing some red in pharmaceuticals. You're seeing some red in consumer non-durables, industrials, but outside of that, you're going relatively green. Walmart took a nasty hit yesterday. Walmart once again taking a hit today. Again, Walmart, Verizon, John Deere. I feel like if there's a bubble, it might be in the names we're paying 50 times earnings for companies that are not growing anywhere near 1/10 of that PE multiple. Like it's a little aggressive, and maybe we end up getting a rotation back to the other side. But time will tell. Shopify, look at that, 5% move on Shopee. 5% move on Shopee, 119.84 on Mr. Shopify. Where's the VIX today? I would say the VIX is relatively flat, right? It's because of Steve's Walmart hit piece. You guys know what company Steve put out a strong buy recommendation today on his Seeking Alpha? Who wants to guess? VIX is down 4%, folks. Nebius back above 100 as well. Nice to see. There you go. We're actually, wow, Robin at 77, finally. It's been stuck under 77 for a week. Is Bitcoin even moving? Bitcoin's barely moving. This is not because of Bitcoin. This might just be the whole market. Algo's coming in, taking a SoFi should be breaking 1960. SoFi 1975. There you go. Okay, only Benny got it right. And then George got it right. PayPal. Strong buy on PayPal. Pouncer, by the way, she's going for 140. She's going for it. Let me check resistance. She's going for 140. Yes, he wants... Well, I asked him today, did he take a position? He said not yet, but he is getting really interested in buying PayPal. He thinks it's like one of the most undervalued companies he's ever seen before, which he's right about. It's just, you know, will the street get excited for it? 140 resistance on Pouncer, 50,000 shares. 50,000 shares. Let's get to 140, baby. Let's get to 140. Again, we don't get to claim victory against Burry, but it would feel nice to see 140 on the week after he went crazy writing 10,000 words. It would be nice to see 140. It's like, again, it's PayPal. Like even Roy, who's he was the biggest PayPal bull I knew. He sold out of it. Not because like he was down on the stock. He sold out of it because he completely lost faith in management. When you lose faith in management, it's tough, man. It's tough. Really, the house leaders. There's his article right there. But Steve doesn't care too much about that. He just went to the numbers and was like, this company cannot be at this price for this long. Which, I get it. Just don't know if it's the best opportunity. So many other names in this economy.
absolutely buy Bitcoin today instead of gold. And by the way, just be clear, I don't know any of that because I don't want anybody giving me grief about whether I'm objective or not objective. But if I had money to put in the market today, I would buy Bitcoin.
Well, we know, Brian, that you've been buying back Bitcoin. I do want to just, in the minute that we have left with you, just hit on what we got from the CFTC this week, which was big news on the prediction markets. The commissioner is actually here at this conference, and they announced that they're coming out swinging against these states that are trying to go after prediction markets as gambling. This, I would think, helps your business a lot, and you're part of this new council. What's your reaction?
Yeah, well, Coinbase has been building out what we call the everything exchange. So we have every asset class there, crypto, stocks, commodities. We also launched prediction markets. And you're correct, Commissioner Mike Seelig has been great on the leadership front here, coming out and stating what is already in the law, which is that the CFTC has exclusive authority over these types of contracts. And some folks in the state level are unhappy about that. This might go to various courts, may even go to the Supreme Court. But I think ultimately the CFTC chair is right on the law, and they'll win. The CFTC has the authority. There's state preemption, and so we're going to rely on that as well.
And I know you were also very supportive of this. I saw you posted on that.
Look, the role of the United States government or any government is not to protect incumbency or business models that are eventually going to be replaced. Our job is to make sure we create an environment for innovation and growth with proper guardrails, and this is exactly what we're going to do.
Who's going to be replaced?
Well, look, ask Sears how Amazon worked out for them. Ask Blockbuster how Netflix worked out for them. Our job isn't to protect business models that are just not working. Young people don't like our current financial system. It's going to be replaced. We want it to happen here in America.
Okay, now, is the Clarity Act getting passed or not? Because all I got from that is that Brian Armstrong has the support of some senators in Congress around what he's trying to do. I'm not necessarily getting any clarity on if this Clarity Act, I didn't mean to do that, but if this Clarity Act is going to really get passed. Yeah, they said April, but will they actually come to an agreement? Because it's been dicey, right? This was supposed to pass literally 2 weeks ago until Brian Armstrong created a lot of controversy around what's happening here. If it does by April, then maybe that lines up with Bitcoin coming back into favor, and that kind of changes the mentality right there. NVIDIA, by the way, we did break 190. We did break 190. So we touched it for a bit, 190.14. Those 200,000 shares were sold. We're at just below 190 pounds here, really making a move above 140. I mean, if we can hold above 140 to end out the day, that would be very nice to see. ServiceNow also getting a little bit of move. PayPal up 2%. Robinhood trying to touch 78. Shopify 120. Not bad. It's nice to have a green day on some of these names that really have just been getting hammered over the past couple of weeks. Nebius, that's up 3.5. Zeta's up 3. Salesforce is up 1. SanDisk back to 600. Rich Tech Robotics up 3.4. Amcor up 2.6. The rare earth stocks slightly up today. They took a pretty big hit yesterday. Even Oklow's up 2%. Lunar's up 10%. That's another space name. Rocket Lab should be green. Rocket Lab still holding on to 7.7. Micron is absolutely moving. This is not all-time highs, right? No, 455 is all-time highs. We got 5 minutes till the 10:30 slam. If we don't get it. And if we can survive it, then we're good. Burry is tweeting about Carp being on private jets. Dude, I think the guy's legitimately crashing out. Is he actually is this his best analysis on Palantir now? It's quite the feat to spend $17 million on a business and personal travel. I mean, this is not even... It's just kind of stupid, bro. Mark Zuckerberg spends $2.5 million a year on security itself. These are very important people. Yeah, they're going to fly private. Karp's not going to be in 32F when he's going to Estonia to close a deal. I mean, yes, they're going to... You think Jensen went to China last week on United? No, these guys are worth a lot of money, and they kind of determine if these stock prices go up or down. They can afford to use some of the company's money when they have 84% gross margins and 50% operating margins to travel. Like, this is what I mean by he's reaching, bro. Like you know, when you make arguments like this, you're reaching. This is the thing about being a bear. This is the thing I've learned about the past couple of years. Like, if you're gonna actually go publicly bearish on something, you better have a damn good reason, because stocks tend to go up over time. It's just, like, as the economy grows, the market grows, stocks tend to go up over time. Even if they're not going up like crazy, they tend to go up. So if you're actually bearish and you're going, no, that stock's not going to move with the market, which we know is algorithmically controlled at the end of the day, then you better be damn right about something you know that the market doesn't know for why that stock is just not going to go up. And if you're wrong, you start making up stupid reasons like, oh, private flights. That's the tough part about being a bear. Like, it's just, I think you feel happier if you're bullish, but also, like, being bullish has been right for the past 100 years. There have been moments where it's been wrong, but the trend has been right, because if you believe in growth, if you believe in, honestly, if you believe in humanity, like, what are we all doing? We're all working. That's a lot of our jobs play a big part of our purpose, where a lot of us are working for companies or building our own companies. All that contributes to the economy. We have to use products and services that are, quite frankly, offered by a lot of public companies, because they're just so big at that point, which means we support those public companies. They put up earnings. The economy moves forward. Everyone's retirement accounts are attached. I mean, it's all a big Ponzi scheme and a pyramid that we're all a part of, and it just can never fail. And if it does fail, the whole world pretty much collapses. That's why it's important to be bullish. So if you're going to be bearish, you got to have a really good reason about some of this stuff. Burry's flying in cargo jets now. Oh my gosh. Doug says, Amit, I just had an amazing FSD experience. Tesla followed police directing traffic through red lights due to construction, and FSD followed police directions perfectly. Wow. FSD continues to be incredible. Continues to be incredible. 413 on Tesla. I know the stock hasn't moved too much, but in my personal experience of FSD and many more that I hear are just going in the right direction. They just need to scale this robotaxi now. That's it. Oh yeah, Burry also said today GameStop's going to be $1 trillion in market cap in the next 30 years. So, and you also have that take that he put out this morning. Grabs at 443, Cheesecake Factory's up 4. D-Lo's up 6%. I know a lot of people like this one, D-Local. They had a tough earnings a while ago, but they're doing all right. Did you see the video of Steve and Burry fighting? I did not, but if one of you guys made an AI video of Steve and Burry fighting, I'm in. I definitely would want to see that. Definitely would want to see it. Can you imagine the tweets when Palantir's back at 200? Man, if Palantir gets back to 200 this year, oh man, Burry's going to be upset. He's going to be upset. He's going to be a little mad. CARP is CIA and Secret Service travel considered. Yeah, dude, CARP is literally on a list in Russia. This came up, if you're OG Palantir, this came out in 2023. They put him on a list of people that are not allowed to enter the country. Palmer Luckey is also on that list. Obviously, you know, Anduril, Palantir, United States Defense, like, yeah, China's not going to want them there. But, like, I mean, CARP can't just walk around without having any concerns for his safety. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't want him to be alive. And that's the same for a lot of these high-level executives. So, like, not flying private would be a bigger concern to me as a shareholder, because the guy's got to be safe. I don't know why that would be something to get that upset about. What do you think about NVIDIA on earnings? Okay, so we had another report come out from Morgan Stanley right here. So they said, oh yeah, this is actually really important. So they did an analysis of all the 13Fs that came out, and they said NVIDIA is the most under-owned mega cap tech, with a negative 2.5% gap between its S&P 500 weighting and active institutional ownership, which means institutions continue to still be a bit bearish on NVIDIA. Apple's at negative 2.1, Microsoft negative 2.1, and then 1.3 for Amazon, which is actually really bullish for Amazon. That means there's a lot of Amazon in these investor portfolios. Investors are tilted towards AI hardware names, while software stocks remain relatively under-owned. So essentially what Morgan Stanley is saying, if you can read between the lines, is that if NVIDIA delivers a really good quarter, then, which I still can't say that freaking word, then the institutions are likely going to pile in because they just don't have enough of it. And based on that meta deal we got yesterday, it's hard to imagine NVIDIA is not going to have a massive move, which means that theoretically, remember we talked about the banana peel of February, the last 2 weeks of February suck. NVIDIA basically reports on the second to last day of February, February 27th. Then we have February 28th, then we get into March. Imagine NVIDIA crushes earnings. We're done with the February slump. The earnings crush is so big that all the derivative names catch a bid because NVIDIA puts up like some crazy guidance, which I think they're going to do. Then you have GTC 2 weeks later, where Jensen's going to pump the brand new technology that NVIDIA is going to put out probably in 2027, 2028. And then you kind of have maybe some progress geopolitically on a variety of different issues, whether it's Iran, India, Russia, Ukraine, et cetera. I mean, you could see the tailwind start to form. And then you might have some people waking up saying, hey, why are we paying this much for Verizon and Walmart when they're not growing? And maybe then you get the rotation, and that's where March ends up being, March and April, a really exciting time to be long growth versus what February's been. NVIDIA reports next Wednesday, the 27th. So I feel like that is not a crazy series of events that could play out. Now, this Iran war thing that Axios is reporting could kind of put a dent in all that, which hopefully that doesn't happen. But that also could be something that we have to factor in. Although I was super bullish just now, let me introduce some bearish news, which we've talked about this so many times. I wonder when it's actually going to have an implication. But we have a new report by TransUnion on credit delinquencies. And I mean, in all the categories we expected, it continues to be higher. Auto delinquencies are up 7 basis points, credit cards 6 basis points, mortgage 9 basis points, consumer personal loans, wow, 11 basis points on delinquency rates that have increased for all major credit products, auto, credit card, mortgage, consumer personal loan. We've been talking about these headlines literally for the past year. I wonder when it really hits the fan. Like, it's obviously not good to have these many delinquent rates, but then there's so much macro data that kind of hedges against the delinquencies being horrible. And it never, I mean, so far, again, for this to actually affect stocks, people, here's the thing. I think the real sort of missing piece of the puzzle is we need to have massive job loss. Because when people lose their jobs and they have delinquent credit card rates, that's when shit hits the fan, and that's when earnings actually suffer. We haven't seen the job part of this necessarily get hit. Now, I know we had the revision last week, and so the labor market is not necessarily the healthiest, but it's not like cataclysmic to the point where the Fed's thinking we have to cut rates. The probability on rate cuts now, as of today, is, right back to 5.9%, even after those million job downgrades. So, yes, the question is when the K economy breaks. And, quite frankly, AI is not going to make the K economy better. This sort of K shape of the rich keep getting richer, and the middle class have a chance to get into the upper class because of stocks and assets going up. And then if you're at the bottom, you're living paycheck to paycheck. Like, I don't think that gets better in a world of AI. I think that only exacerbates the inequality, just because, again, like, either you learn how to adapt to AI and you're invested in these companies that have AI, or you get commoditized by it. But can the stock market survive with that K-shaped economy getting worse? I don't know. But for the past year and a half, it has, and it's continued to make more momentum. Do we have the Trump brothers on CNBC right now? Are they talking crypto? Oh yeah, they're talking crypto. Okay, so they're having a World Liberty Forum crypto event today. Let's pull up to this and see what they're saying.
We got into it out of necessity. They basically forced us into it. And so, to Eric's point of retribution, to be able to come back and now work with the best in crypto as well as the best in TradFi, get these people together to create efficiencies in a system that's otherwise been totally undemocratized and broken and inefficient and slow. To be on the leading edge of that is just really exciting. And that's what you see here. I mean, when you look at the names, and you've seen them all, you saw the dinner last night, some of the greatest minds in finance all in one room, figuring how to make things better for the future. It's really exciting.
Well, you know what the critics would say. They'd say that the credibility factor is the Trump name and the Trump White House, and that everyone, is here to curry favor.
I think, again,
The great irony is they didn't give us much of a choice. When you had
they created this monster.
when you had every big bank in the world for doing nothing wrong, just based on the fact that we all wore a hat that said "Make America Great Again." My father happened to be running as a Republican, canceled us. I mean, I was getting these calls: 300 bank accounts, Capital One, in the middle of the night. These are commercial buildings, residential buildings, golf courses, around the world. These aren't political entities, and they were pulling these accounts from us like we're absolute dogs. We couldn't pay our vendors, we couldn't pay employees, and so we said, listen, there has to be a better way.
They're used to being able to do that to people who have no ability to fight back. We had the balance sheet, we had the following, the big soapbox to be able to push back and to call out this nonsense. And a lot of Americans saw that and they were appreciative of it.
And by the way,
they saw it happening to them. They couldn't get credit card processing if you were a small gun shop in the middle of nowhere because, doesn't check off the woke boxes. And so we did this out of necessity, and it was important. I think it's important for the world. And in that, I think we're creating a lot of efficiencies that we're lacking in the system. I mean, as someone who either one of us could have called any banker in New York over the last 20 years and gotten a loan for a building, and we just realized we were sort of the top of the Ponzi scheme that was banking. If you didn't have those connections, if you didn't have these things, you didn't get that benefit. Crypto totally democratizes the ability for people to transact, to do finance, to get the loans that they need for businesses that make sense. That didn't exist for everyone, and we're really glad to be able to bring that to the forefront in the market.
Still think it's going to $1 million. It's having trouble holding 100,000. It's been a rough start. This was supposed to be the golden dawn of crypto.
Well, Bitcoin is low right now, but what we're talking here with World Order is going to be stable coins, right? So that's treasury backed, it's dollar based.
Held up in the Bitcoin sell-off.
They're 1-to-1 to U.S. Treasuries, so they've stayed the same. It's just a simpler way to transact. If you send a wire on Friday, you don't have to wait for Tuesday to close. It happens in 2 seconds for 2 cents. You can close transactions. The banks obviously didn't love that idea because they're getting the benefit of the float of having these things, and these billions and billions of dollars sitting in their banks over the weekend collecting interest. This creates efficiencies that did not exist in that market before.
But not only does it create efficiencies, it's bringing trillions of dollars into the United States, right? Everybody wants to be on the US dollar. They did a euro-based stablecoin, and only half of 1% of all Europeans want to be on that stablecoin. You know what they want to be on? They want it to be on the US dollar. And guess what everybody in Asia wants to be on? The US dollar. Guess what everybody in South America wants to be on, and really is on? The US dollar. Stablecoin is going to bring literally trillions of dollars into the US economy. It arguably could save the dollar because guess what? There's a lot of countries around the world.
BTC's just moved, baby. 68,000. Wow. That's basically, it's $1,000 candle, almost $1,100 candle right there. Hood's got to get a move off this. Hoodie, very close to 78. MicroStrategy, that's up 2. BMNR should be moving right there. That's up 1.89. ETH is back above 2,000. Wow, guys, it's 10 minutes after the 10:30 slam. S&P new highs for the day. Nvidia's still stuck below 190, but it's still up 3%. You can't complain about that. Palantir, are we still holding 140? We are just below 140. I mean, it feels more real than not. Or is this a trap? I don't know. That's a pretty big candle right there on BTC. Maybe this is a bit more real than not.
Rampant corruption, bad governments, bad currencies, massive inflation. These people don't stand a chance. They get a paycheck. They don't stand a chance. They may as well go and throw it in a fire and just burn it. Whereas now, all of a sudden, using a simple telephone, using your iPhone, all of a sudden you can buy US-backed, 1-to-1 as Zahn said, based on US Treasuries. You can buy stablecoin, and you can actually be part of the greatest financial system in the world. But that's a wonderful thing for us.
But gold has been doing well too, and I know stablecoin is different than Bitcoin, but you've been big proponents and bullish on Bitcoin as well.
We still are.
I'm a huge proponent of Bitcoin. I do think it hits $1 million. I think it's one of the greatest performing asset classes. I mean, go back 2 years. Bitcoin was at what, 16,000? Where is it at right now? 70?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you look at the last 10 years, Bitcoin has gone up 70% a year on average, year over year for the last decade. Name an asset class that has performed better than Bitcoin. And now, obviously, you have lots of volatility. If you don't want volatility, go invest in some muni. Go have a great time. Go invest in some treasury. You're going to have volatility with something that has tremendous upside. But I've never been more bullish on Bitcoin in my life. I've never been more bullish on cryptocurrency in my life. You look at what every one of the big financial institutions in the country is doing, whether it be Fidelity, whether it be Charles Schwab, whether it be JP Morgan, whether it be BlackRock, right? Goldman's here. Yeah, I mean, go down the list. Every single one of them are adopting cryptocurrencies. They're willing to treasury cryptocurrencies. They're putting their private wealth clients into cryptocurrencies. Before, they were telling them to put exactly zero into cryptocurrency. Then it was 2%. Now all of a sudden it's 5, 6%, and that number keeps on climbing. It is the asset class of this generation. It's what every person under the age of 50 is into and loves, and we're just getting started. We're on the 1-yard line.
I do want to ask you about the World Liberty Corporation, which has been in the news, and there was this big Wall Street Journal report about the 49% stake that was sold to an Emirati royal family member after your father was elected president, raising questions about whether they were doing that so they could get access to AI chips.
A, my father has nothing to do with. B, it has nothing to do with AI chips. And C, we met in the Middle East the first time.
Yes.
There's not a person in that room. There's not a banker. There's not a fund manager that doesn't go to the Middle East and to the, whether the sovereign wealth funds of the world. They're some of the biggest investors in every fund in America. To critique the one here and not talk about the others would be nonsense. It's literally what they do. And so they have done that. They invested in it, and they've actually had already over a 4x return on their investment. It's a great investment and has nothing to do with the other. We've been dealing with the conflict of interest stuff for years. I mean, they tried all this nonsense the first time around. Frankly, it's gotten old. They were the ones that put us into this position by creating legislation to try to put us out of business. We just fought back. We weren't willing to sit in a corner, curl up in a ball and die like they would love us to do. That's not how we function. That's not how we operate. And you can see that whether it's my father or us, that's never going to happen. We're going to do what we need to do to fight back.
Right?
It's a great law of like unintended consequences. If you look at what they tried to do when they threw my father off of Twitter, and they did the same to Don and myself and pretty much everybody else in our family. They took us off of Twitter. They took us off of Facebook. They took us off of Instagram. They took us off of YouTube. They took us off of Google. They skewed all the searches. They did everything they could to suppress. So guess what we did? We went out and we formed Truth Social. Then not too long after that, all the banks, they started canceling us left and right, every single one of them. Every single one of the big banks, they started canceling us. Guess what we did? We went out and we got into DeFi because we realized it was the future of finance. And the great irony is half of the very executives that called us back in those days to cancel us are actually in this room right now. It is a law of unintended consequences. And I think, for a long time they fought it. And I think at this point they realize they can't fight it. The train has left the station. This is happening worldwide. The whole world is adopting crypto in a very, very big, fast manner. And they'd much rather be on the side of something that's clearly the future than be trying to fight it in perpetuity.
Well, I don't think the Democrats have accepted it. I mean, Senator Warren wants you guys investigated by Treasury under CFIUS.
Yeah. I know.
Senator Warren also said he was
millions of dollars
agent of Russia,
teaching
right?
Harvard for 4 minutes a month. Give me a break. That's what they're going to do. But again, to Eric's point, some of the people in this room 6 months ago, they were very anti-crypto because they were very accustomed to their system. It worked. Everyone made a lot of money. They made fees in and out. It just created inefficiency that they got the benefit of that. Now that they realize that this is the future, that this is an avenue where people are going to go because it is better to transact, it is faster, it is more efficient, it keeps more money in the pocket of the actual user, they have no choice but to adapt. So they're going to be here and they're going to help carry that. They wanted to prevent it because that was their business model for decades. They didn't want to evolve. When I graduated from Wharton, everyone went into banking. They had their same system. They've been doing the same thing for 50 years. This is leading edge technology. It's going to change the way things are. And those who are willing to adapt are going to survive, and those who won't will not.
But do you guys have conversations, friends? I mean, there are some regulators here. There are members of Congress here. There's an important market structure bill we were just talking about that needs to get through the Senate, and needs to be passed by,
because America has to win. America has to win this because you better believe China wants to win it. All of Asia wants to win it. Countries in South America want to win it. South Korea wants to win it. The entire Middle East wants to win this race. We better win this race. We better win the race of modern day finance. And frankly, the banks have almost been negligent. Why is it in 2026? Why does it take you? Why can't you send a wire transfer after 5 o'clock in the afternoon? Why is it, a nice young couple wants to go out, they want to finance a house. It takes them 120 days to go through, know your customer. They pay exorbitant fees to one of the big banks to try and get a loan. By the time they get the loan, the house is gone.
They even get it.
Their dreams are shattered.
Yeah.
Why can't that be instantaneous? There's nothing in the world, there's nothing in finance that can't be done better, cheaper, and more efficiently and more transparently, frankly, on blockchain technology. And that's what everybody's realizing. And
all right. Those are the Trump brothers making their pitch for why crypto should go mainstream. Obviously, a lot of different perspectives. Some people think they are grifting and they are colluding with different foreign officials to be able to, have more political influence and be able to pump their own Liberty World financial thing. Other people think they are more sincere about what they're doing in crypto. People can have different perspectives on that, but it does seem very obvious that they are trying to make crypto as mainstream as possible. And even if they're going to benefit from that themselves, that is the tone of this administration. Now, unfortunately, the one thing where you start to really question, how much the administration really cares, that there's no Bitcoin reserve. And I think that was one of the biggest things that was promised from these brothers themselves, is that there would be a strategic Bitcoin reserve. We haven't done that. Now, do we have the money to buy Bitcoin given all the debt we have? Not really. But if they actually believed in Bitcoin, one could argue that Bitcoin will grow substantially enough to help us pay off that debt in the next 100 years. Like, that's kind of like the broad-based bull theory on the debasement trade in the context of the counter-cyclical trend that Bitcoin will enable against the US dollar. So we haven't really acted on that yet. And we really need to get this Clarity Act passed so that you have some type of regulatory framework for crypto in general. But you got the Trump administration that's trying to make it mainstream. And the quote we got yesterday from the CFTC president, for those that didn't see it, basically the head of the CFTC basically came out and said, yeah, prediction markets are here to stay, and if you have a problem with it, you can fight me. That's not what he literally said, but that's basically what he said. It means this administration is very much on, prediction markets are heavily intertwined with crypto, because one of the biggest prediction market platforms is a crypto-based platform. We're talking about Polymarket. So it definitely seems like long crypto is not the wrong idea. It's just the price action of the major assets, Bitcoin and Ethereum, in that trade have not correlated. But there is obviously a massive level of engagement from the administration on it, even if those people are trying to benefit themselves. I mean, at the end of the day, they're going to do what they're going to do. But the question is, does it help Bitcoin and Ethereum long term? Pouncher 139.98, hoodie 77. I don't see anything that's really that red, folks. Applied Digital can't really get the green. AMD, she's back above 200, 196 to 203 or 202. Nasdaq still pumping. Figma, do we have an update on that? Figma's up 5. Oh, yeah, we do have a Figma update. You can now push Claude code into Figma. Just got a video that came out about that. We do know they had a partnership last week. There it is. Claude code to Figma. That's pretty cool. Wow. That's pretty freaking cool. That's wild. This AI shit, it's kind of real. It feels it's kind of real. By the way, did anyone see the Spotify headline around AI? VIX down 7.5%. That's helping a lot. Spotify said their best developers haven't written a line of code since December, thanks to AI, which I think is kind of bearish software engineering as a job to an extent, but it's also super bullish Codex and Claude Code as they're integrating with some of the biggest companies in the world, and basically saying your engineers can become way more productive if you let us handle the coding. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like, again, and that's why Dario yesterday, I think he was spot on when he was saying people don't really understand the state of the exponential. And obviously he's concerned about what it means for jobs, which is a legitimate concern, but it's happening. And you need a lot of compute to make it happen, which is why when Amazon says we're going to spend $200 billion and the street gets upset about that, it just feels like a buy the dip. Like, it just feels like the street is way too concerned about the short term here. And long-term people should be rewarded. I built an app with Base 44. Yeah, Base 44 is another app that's been going viral as well around that stuff. You're still going to need design skills. I agree. I mean, again, I've always been against the whole software engineering is going to go extinct, but I do think that whole concept of like needing to learn how to code, because that's like the only STEM career that's out there that pays well. I mean, you better be really damn good. You cannot be some junior level engineer in the world of AI and expect to make $200,000 a year at some tech company and their snacks all day. Like, I feel like that is 2010 to 2023, and we are moving past that. Now tech companies are just going to require you to be AI efficient, and if you're not, like, they're just not going to need a junior level engineer. Having said that, I don't think software engineering is dead. I still think, you're going to need a lot of people to learn how to work with AI. But it is incredible, the rapid pace of development. 688.08 on the S&P. Put in the chat, how many of you guys are software developers at a tech company and you just eat the snacks all day? You code for like, dude, I have a bunch of friends. Dude, some of my friends, they were like, dude, I code for 2 hours and then I just like play ping pong in the office. Like those day in the life TikTok videos, it's a real thing. So now you got to be good at coding to finish all your stuff in 2 hours. But that shit happens, bro. I've gone to their offices and like sat in the cafeteria and chilled with them. And I'm like, bro, you don't have work to do? They're like, bro, I don't need to work. I'll get this shit done tomorrow night. I'm like, all right. I guess that's how it is. But yeah, I think AI is just going to make it a lot more efficient. That was me in 2010. I did it in Seattle. Yeah, I used to do that before. Says the man with no job. Yes, agreed. I'm not trying to pick on those people that do it. Like, look, if you can finish your work in 2 hours, then chill around the office all day. It is what it is. It's just the work you like, the level of work you could put in as a software engineer in 2 hours and then get to chill the rest of the day was so valuable because it offered so much either product roadmap or architect engineering to the actual product the company was putting out. Now, if AI is automating that shit in 2 minutes, you've got to make yourself productive and like prove your worth in that company if those 2 hours are done that quickly. And I think that's a new challenge for software engineers, but that also should mean for shareholders of all these tech companies, which employ all these software engineers, we should get a lot better, A, margin expansion, quite frankly, because you might not have to increase headcount that much, and then B, productivity, which should flow back down to shareholders. They are overpaid. The thing about engineers always being overpaid, it's like, I know it's a talking point, but these tech companies have so much money. There's so many articles back in the 2015s where Zucks was just hoarding talent and paying as much as he needed to pay just to keep. I mean, he's doing that now in the age of AI as well. But back when they were shifting from desktop to mobile, the best talent in the world, you just needed that talent to be there because, I mean, Zucks went on to take Meta from 500 million users to 4 billion over 10 years. You're going to make so much money when you have 4 billion people using your shit every day that you can afford to give someone 500 grand and not even blink an eye. Because the margins are so good. The scale of capital is so exponential. You have deep liquidity in the public market, so shareholders are willing to subsidize you. Like, that's the beautiful thing about these tech companies. And AI is only accelerating that further and further and further, which should ultimately reward shareholders. Can the new AI agents play profitable online poker and tournaments? That's a great question. I actually was asking ChatGPT the other day, we talked about this a while ago. What happens when people create AI trading bots in the market? And like, how do they interact with each other? And Anthropic, I think it was a Claude actually I asked. Claude said the same exact thing that I said a year and a half ago when I got asked this question, which is that it means there's not that much of an edge because trading is based on emotion. So if both AI bots have no emotion, so same thing with poker, right? If both AI bots have no emotion on how to play the game because they're just looking at statistical probabilities, then where's the edge? Like whoever sold Meta this morning at 629, even if it was just algos, there was some level of human emotion that was attached to that probably triggered the downfall. And now it's at 640. Whoever bought it took advantage of that as the edge. If the AI bots are that good to know not to sell here and not to buy here, then where do you get the volatility? So it is an interesting question, especially in the markets when these things go back and forth. The only edge is hold. Yeah, I mean, definitely if you're long. If you're trading, you have to find out a different edge. What else do we got? What else do we got? So we got all that crypto news. We got the macro news in the morning. We looked at the Figma stuff with Claude. I see a lot of put flows coming in, guys. I'm seeing a lot of S&P 500 puts coming in 5,600 for September 26th, and then I'm seeing 5,400, and I'm seeing 5,900. All of these are June to September. Decent chunk of put flows coming. Probably people are hedging, or maybe people are taking advantage of the puts. Obviously become cheaper as the price goes up. Where is the S&P? Can we break 690? 688.60 right here. 688.60. Onda still trying to rip. D-Pro, that's up 10%. I'm day trading, running 8 poker tables and letting AI code run at the same time. D-Pro right there. That's up 9%. I'm a software engineer. Coding is a much smaller part of the job than most people realize. Yeah, I mean, my cousin, she's a software engineer as well. And I mean, her company has been using Anthropic like crazy. And quite frankly, coding is not that big a part of the job. It's orchestrating how the code is instituted. It's checking a lot of things. It's collaborating with teams to make sure that the product roadmap is coming at scale, or is coming to the scale that has been envisioned. And a lot of it is, in the world of AI, she's like, a lot of my job is now checking the code more than actually coding it, and prompting. And those Anthropic credits are freaking expensive. So she's like, when I prompt, I have to think. She's like, I have to prompt ChatGPT and Grok on if my prompt is good enough to put into Claude before I send my prompt, because we only have a certain number of credits, and it's really expensive because the thing's going to do a lot of work when I prompt it. So if I give it a crappy prompt, I'm going to be wasting credits. So even understanding how to prompt, which requires a bit of creativity, is becoming a massive skill set. What else? Do we have any other big headlines here? We survived the 10:30 slam. We usually get something at around, well, we don't really get a slam at 11:30, but we definitely get a little bit of weakness. We got Lynn Aldrin, who's a big crypto bull. Here's her explanation on why crypto has been kind of crappy over the past couple of months.
It's just basically, other than meme coins and some kind of financial nihilism going on, there wasn't really anything happening there. And I think a lot of people kind of heard about Bitcoin at this point. So yeah, I just think there wasn't. It's almost like there's a barbell. So, and the two sides didn't show up. So sovereigns didn't really show up. People were talking about the strategic Bitcoin reserve a lot last year. I was on record saying I'm not going to expect that really. And then the other side is retail didn't really show up. And instead, the only real players this time were kind of in the middle, the corporate institutional side, kind of higher net worth retail that have a brokerage account, and the ETFs opened up to them, made it easier. But not really like a deluge of people buying Bitcoin, taking self-custody of it, learning about it, doing the whole podcast circuit.
Yeah, I mean, look, she's right about the fact that the media entities have died off. I think further on in that podcast, she also talks about how gold and silver have continued to take momentum. Gold and silver, wow, gold right here breaking through 5,000, or trying to break through 5,000. And, Tom Lee, I think he was in Hong Kong yesterday, and he put out like another one of his presentations. And he pretty much said the same thing, which is that gold and silver has been taking over a majority of the momentum. And as a result, that is why it's been a bit tougher for crypto to get some excitement. Let's listen to a little bit of this. This is what we have right here.
Ethereum per share. Our Ethereum held per share is 10 times higher than it was on June 30th. That's the reason why the stock is outperforming, because we're growing your share holdings of Ethereum. We also invest in moonshots. The two moonshots are Beast Industries and Orbs. I just want to spend a minute on Beast. If you're over age 30, you may not understand who Mr. Beast is, but they did just announce they're buying a bank, a neobank called Step. We were aware of this when we made our investment into Beast late last year. Of course, we can't talk about what Beast is going to do, but here's the thing. Beast has a chance to be the financial institution of their generation, okay? So if you go back to the baby boomers in 1980s, Charles Schwab was created for baby boomers. And for Gen X, if you're Gen X, then BlackRock and Blackstone were your financial institutions created in your lifetime. And if you're a millennial, you've had institutions like Robinhood, Chime, and SoFi. Okay. Well, here's the thing. Mr. Beast is the leading creator for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. That's 120 million people. It's bigger than millennials, and he is the guy. So he is basically the next Robinhood, SoFi, Chime combined. And of course, these people aren't necessarily wealthy today, but remember,
That's a hell of a claim. Mr. Beast is the next Robinhood, SoFi, Chime combined.
Robinhood's customers 15 years ago weren't really wealthy either, but there's a huge amount of wealth transfer that's going to take place. So Beast's customers, as they go through their journey in the next 10, 15 years, are going to not only be, a huge cohort, but they're going to be the largest and wealthiest generation ever.
Again, that might happen, but remember, the wealth transfer doesn't just mean that money goes into whatever Mr. Beast is building. Schwab is going to fight for the wealth transfer as well. There's a lot of parents that have a lot of their assets on Schwab that when they pass away will transfer those assets that are going to still be on Schwab to their kids. So, when Robinhood talks about the wealth transfer, I think the reason they have an opportunity to actually benefit from it is because Robinhood's products are just so innovative and so user-friendly and so intuitive, and there's so much innovation there that those kids might want to take their assets off of Schwab and actually go to Robinhood, especially if they've interacted with it on their own personal banking and brokerage accounts. But that means the products have to be really good to get a lot of money to leave Fidelity, Schwab, and all these legacy brokerages that parents are already on or grandparents that are on and bring it down to their kids. Do you think Mr. Beast can actually build products in the financial space that are so unbelievably strong and intuitive and user-friendly and adopted, et cetera? I know he has a big audience, but can he actually build financial products the way Robinhood and SoFi do to capture the youth's attention? I don't know. Maybe he can, but it's not easy. Like, it's not really easy to get that many people to put their money on a new product, especially when their money is already entrenched via their parents and legacy products. So a bit skeptical about that, but obviously he has a lot of time to build this out, and based on them acquiring that new company over the next few years, we're going to see how that grows and how they incorporate that into their marketing. Ondas, by the way, making a really big move right here, 1084. That's up 7.85%, as that is green as well. It would be like Mike Tyson banking. Did you guys hear that Mike Tyson is going to be fighting Floyd Mayweather? Yeah. Why are they doing this? April 25th in the Congo, Mike Tyson is fighting Floyd Mayweather. This is just weird, bro. Like, I get they're doing it for the money, but they can't fight anymore. Like, it's not like the Mike Tyson Jake Paul thing was just embarrassing. It was like he was not in a position to fight. And Jake Paul even agreeing to that was so stupid. So now hopefully it's on Netflix. That'll be good for Netflix, but I don't know why they're actually doing that. Crypto selling off again. Is it? Are we seeing it? BTC. Yo. Bro, we just lost the entire pump. It went from 67.3 to 68.3, right back down to 67.3. Literally $1,000 up, $1,000 down. That's a regular Wednesday for you in 2026. A regular Wednesday for you in 26. Yeah, BTC right there, 67.2. Ethereum as well, 1969. At least Palantir holding up to 140. Nebius, are we getting a breakout? Nebesis, we are getting a breakout. 103. 103. Okay, someone just sent me Steve fighting Michael Burry on X. I've got to play this. This is AI, but let's see what it looks like. By the way, Steve wrote a big article to Michael Burry yesterday, who hasn't responded to this, but if you read through it, it's a really, really good response. All right, Matt Hollis, let's see what this is.
You're a fool if you think Palantir stock is going down. It's going down, and you know it! You're a fool.
Dude, I wish it was longer. That's cool. It kind of looks like Steve, too. I mean, a decent chunk, and then Burry looks like Burry. This is is why we're spending on the data centers, folks. This is why.
Well, if you think Palantir stock is going down, it's going down, and you know it. You're a
Dramatic music in the background, dude. I know a lot of this is AI slop, but some of this AI slop is enjoyable, especially when it's personal to your own friends. By the way, Snapchat is exceeded $1 billion in annualized revenue from their subscription business, 25 million subs. This stock was below $5 yesterday. Snapchat still below $5, 3% up at 488. But my goodness, what a disaster that Snapchat has been over the past decade at this point. The stock was at $80 at one point. There was a theory I heard yesterday that OpenAI might try to acquire Snapchat. I actually, dude, I don't hate that idea. OpenAI buying Snap. I mean, they get access to 1 billion users. They get access to the younger demographic. They can implement ChatGPT within Snapchat, even though Snapchat has their own like personal AI thing. But I mean, that's way more queries for GPT. Now, how much would they be willing to pay? Market cap's at 8 billion. Evan Spiegel didn't even sell to Facebook years ago, so I doubt he would sell to OpenAI. But if they offered him like 20 billion, 3x from here, maybe that's not crazy. But Evan Spiegel has voting rights on his shares, and he's not going to sell, in my opinion. So it wouldn't be crazy. Also, I heard, this wasn't like a rumor, but this was like someone putting out a think piece on it. They said OpenAI should acquire Pinterest, which I don't think is crazy either. Pinterest is now, I mean, it's a $10 billion company.